Hey there, I'm Gresham Dekoning from dekoningtan, and I just wanted to make a quick video explaining how I made the radio lyre and also why I used the radio lyre as a VST and turned it into a virtual instrument rather than just playing the instrument live.
I have made a flute out of PVC pipe so far, a Taigal harpa or yuhiko. I did the more yuhiko model, and now I want to make a lyre. I have a cool little box which I bought years ago in England and I've always just kept with me. It says radio on it, it's got some cool knobs. It's pretty resonant. I'm going to try and make a lyre, simple lyre out of this.
So this was a great concept. I just think that I was still very early in the days of learning how resonance works. It's not just about a resonant box, it's also about, the wood itself. And here you can see me making the frame for the lyre, which I stuck inside that resonant tin box. But as you can probably see, the posts, the pieces of wood are far too thick to actually resonate loudly. And I discovered this only later. So if you're watching this and gonna make a lyre, I don't recommend using this thick wood. Enjoy the somewhat spacey sounding sounds of my Dremel as I made space for the wood to be able to close inside the box. You can see here that the wood goes directly into the box and I glued it all into place. And then to close the lid, I had to Dremel a little bit more on the top edges to try and get that box to fit nice and snug. So as you can see, I actually have to keep changing the cutter on top. It's made of a fiberglass. I've actually recently bought some other types of heads that don't break as fast as these ones. You can see me having to change often. Once I got to making the tuning pegs, I realized actually my plank of wood at the top was a little too thick for the tuners that I got. So make sure you measure the depth of your tuners before you select a piece of wood. That way you can not make the same mistake I did. I learned the importance of sanding the hard way from my trash cello project where I literally got a splinter trying to play it. I was not going to make the same mistake twice, so I really spent some time just sanding everything down and making sure things were smooth before I attempted doing more things. And here is me doing the wise thing and measuring out where exactly each of my tuning pegs is going to go. Another mistake I learned from previous times with my Taigal harpa. So this time I wasn't going to make the same mistake again.
Alright, I managed to get on all the tuners by slowly filing this part away. Now I'm going to have to make some sort of a bridge to hold the strings, then put the top back on.
And there it was. The radio lyre was complete. The bridge worked. The strings worked. I'd put extra screws around it just to make sure I wouldn't get like buzz around when I played it, because sometimes playing a stringed instrument causes buzz if two elements are next to each other but not tight enough. They'll vibrate it extra. And yeah, I was quite happy with how it turned out. Like, it looked kind of cool. Obviously, I hadn't played it yet, and so that was the next big exploration: is how would it play?
I'll probably take this apart after I've sampled it completely, just because I'm going to have too many instruments lying around, and I can reuse the tuners, which are locking tuners, quite nice, and I can probably reuse some of the wood as well. But it was a really fun build to just get an idea of how to make something like a lyre in this plucked stringed instrument. So yeah.
So this was my first time playing it. You could see by my face that I'm like, it's kind of quieter than I thought it would be. My guess is that this is just from the thickness, that the resonance didn't really come down into the box well enough. But there's definitely some nice tone there. Then I bowed the instrument. And because I was planning to sample it, I bowed it a whole bunch of different times with the camera falling over, and just kept trying different ways of bowing it, continuous bows, and then eventually I switched to shorter bows, like a quick strike as well, which you'll see in just a second. And that's where my face started to go, oh, cool, this is interesting. This is a unique sound. So then I started going about sampling all the plucks.
Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and layer these together to get a nice full sound that a chord can be played, and try and get it to crossfade in between these notes so that it doesn't sound like dunk immediately, like it comes on too strong. And we'll see how it sounds. I hope I really make a usable instrument out of this, because as it was, it's not that I was unhappy with it. I felt like I learned a lot from building this little thing, but it's definitely not easy to play or easy to use in different situations. And I feel like if I sample it, it will have more interesting uses that I wouldn't have otherwise had.
Okay, so quick demo of the radio lyre as it is, a decent sampler. This is with bowed volume and the sustained, so that's what you can hear continuing there in the background. Without that, just the sustained bow would be. You can also add more reverb if you want to give it that nice little echo. So sustained bowing means I continued bowing for quite a long time. If you turn up the bowed volume, you can get, if you play very softly, very gentle, or you can get the more heavy. But as you can hear, it doesn't ring out and sustain the same way the other bowing does. With this, you can also mess with the frequency filter. If you turn it way down, get more of a hollow ringing sound. Get some of those higher tones out if you want. And then there's the plucked version. And of course, if you wanted to, you could play all of them at the same time as well. And so that is basically how I made this pretty much unusable instrument completely usable to me. And it's much more fun to play on the piano than it was to play it by hand. and now I'm actually able to use it for a track. So I'm going to show you guys a track that I started working on for a game that needed some soundtracks, and you can see the radio lyre kind of in action alongside other instruments and see how it goes in the mix. So here you can see that the radio lyre I'm using is the one I made for Reason's NNXT. Looks a little different, but it's the same instrument essentially. Unfortunately, that is all I can show you guys of that track, because the rest will be released later in this year for the game. But I just wanted to give a quick sample of how the radio lyre can be used in different types of songs. You can go get it either on Pianobook, which you might be watching this video on, or you can get it from my website, dekoningtan.com. All right, peace, and thanks for watching.